exploration of the Java language. We are now going to be working on arrays, and we've talked about variables in previous lessons, and that variable could hold one value. So if I made int age, it held one age. If I created a string variable name, I could only hold one name. Well, an array can hold multiple values within it as long as they're the same data type. So I went ahead and created a web Java project here called week 2 arrays. Inside of it, I have my start with my main, and I'm going to make an object of practice. Practice is another class in the same thing, and there we go. And I've already created my initial method in here called create array. And we're going to create arrays in two different spots here, and we're going to create it in two different ways. So the first way we're going to create it is I'll call it the traditional way. So first we have to tell it what data type, just like we would do something like we would do string name, and then we could actually set name equal to Rob or whatever we're going to do inside of there. Well, we want name to hold multiple values. So we're going to go ahead and use the open and closing square brackets. So string open and closing square bracket, and it's going to hold multiple names. So let's go ahead and pluralize that variable. So string array of names. So this is how you would read it. String data type, an array, which means we're going to hold multiple values of names. And then inside of here, we do a new, tell it the data type again, and put a square bracket. And how many names do we want to store? We're going to hold two names in our array here. So now we can hold two names in here. Let's go ahead and try to put some names in here. So we're going to do names, and all arrays start with a 0 in there. So the very first element of our array is the 0 element, and that's very important to understand, and it's going to get you at some point down the road, because if I have two elements in there, the highest number I can go up to is a 1, because 0 is the first one and 1 is the second one. So let's go ahead and put a name in here, and we're going to go ahead and put, let's do Bill. And then we're going to create another name with the other attribute. We're using the same exact data variable names, and this time we're going to go ahead and try to put a 1 in there, and we're going to go ahead and put Ted in the second one. So let's go ahead and do that, make the capital. Everything looks good there. So I now have two names inside of my array. Let me go ahead and create another public method, void, and we're going to go ahead and call it read array. And we're going to system out, and we're going to do names, and we're going to print out 0. And we're going to print out one more time here. And let's go ahead and put a little quote there. So we're going to show you the 0 element 1 equals there, and then the 1 element 1 is going to equal that. Okay, so everything's good there. So we create our array, we put it in here. Let's go ahead and give that a run. So I have my object created now in my main here. We're going to use that object P, and we're going to call create array, and then we're going to use that same object, and we're going to call display, what do we call our other one? Read array. There we go. Read array. So we're calling both of those methods over there. Let's go ahead and run that and see what we have. So the 0 element is Bill and the 1 element is Bill. So we've got a little error going on right here. So let's go ahead and see what happened. So I created it correctly. I created two elements there, and I put Bill into the 0 element and Ted into the 1 element. And then when I print it out, actually, here's the problem. I try to access the 0 element for both of them. So I want to access the 1 element for the second one. So now I'm going to access both Bill and Ted. I run that, and everything looks good. So one of the most important errors, or one of the most common errors you're going to get, is you're going to say, okay, well, I have two elements in here. I can go ahead and add two elements. I can go ahead and go up to the 2, 1, and we'll go ahead and add Mary to our element. And notice Eclipse is not giving us any errors. Everything looks great. No red in this one, no red in start. But when I try to run this, I'm going to get a index out of bounds exception. Then one of the most common errors you're going to get with arrays is because what happened is I said I was only going to hold 2 characters in there. And I tried to put a third one in there, and arrays are not resizable. Once I create an array of 2 elements, it's going to stay 2 elements, and I can't add a third element to it. So there's my 0 element, there's my 1 element, so there's elements 1 and 2. I can't put a third one in there. To add a third one, I would have to add a 3 to the size of my array up at the top, and then I can go ahead and run it. So I added 3, I didn't print out the third one down here. The other thing to know is that if I comment out all of these here, the array is going to get created with 3 default values inside of it. So the default value for string is a null, which is a space. So if I go ahead and run this, notice I get null values for it. So even though there's no information in there, there really is. Null is not nothing. Null is a value. So all of those are created with null values. So that's one type of creating arrays. In the next video, I'll show you another way to create an array. Thank you.